The night before my husband's funeral, I changed his pillowcase. It was such a simple thing, something I'd done 1,000 times before. But that night, everything felt different. The house was too quiet. The air was heavy. Every step I took felt slow, like I was moving through water. I remember standing in our bedroom, looking at the bed we had shared for so many years. I could still smell his cologne on the sheets. I could still see the little dent where his head used to rest. I wanted to keep everything just the way it was, but I knew I had to prepare for the people who would come to pay their respects the next day. So, I pulled off the old pillowcase, and that's when I saw it. An envelope, yellowed with age, tucked deep under his pillow. My heart skipped a beat. I stared at it for a long time, afraid to touch it, afraid of what it might mean. Finally, I picked it up. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. The envelope was addressed to me, in his handwriting. I could barely breathe as I opened it. I had no idea what I was about to find, but I knew, deep down, that my life was about to change again. If you've ever lost someone you loved, you know how grief can make the smallest things feel huge. You know how a single moment can bring back a flood of memories, or open up wounds you thought had healed. That night, standing in our bedroom, holding that envelope, I felt everything at once: a love, fear, hope, and a sadness so deep it almost swallowed me whole. Let me tell you about my husband, Tom, and the life we built together. Tom and I met when we were both young. He was the kind of man who didn't say much, but when he did, you listened. He had a quiet strength about him. He worked with his hands, building things, fixing things, always making sure our home was safe and warm. I loved that about him. We married in the spring. The ceremony was small, just family and a few close friends. We didn't have much money, but we had each other. We moved into a little house on Maple Street, with a creaky porch and a big backyard. That house became our world. A year after we married, our daughter, Emily, was born. She was the light of our lives. Tom adored her. He would come home from work, tired and dirty, but the moment he saw Emily, his whole face would light up. He'd scoop her into his arms and spin her around the kitchen, both of them laughing until they couldn't breathe. Our family grew over the years. We had a son, Ben, 3 years after Emily. Life was busy, sometimes hard, but always full. Tom worked long hours at the factory, and I took care of the kids and the house. We didn't have much, but we made do. We found joy in the little things: Sunday picnics, homemade birthday cakes, quiet evenings on the porch. Tom and I had our share of arguments, like any couple, sometimes about money, sometimes about the kids, sometimes about nothing at all. But we always found our way back to each other. He would bring me wildflowers from the yard, or leave a note on the kitchen table. I would make his favorite dinner, or sit with him in the garage while he worked on his old truck. We loved each other, even when we didn't say it out loud. As the kids grew, our house changed. Emily went off to college. Then Ben. The rooms felt emptier, the days quieter. Tom and I learned to enjoy the silence, to find comfort in each other's company. We took up gardening, started going for long walks in the evenings. We talked about traveling, about all the places we wanted to see, but somehow, we never got around to it. There was always something else that needed doing. Then, a year ago, Tom got sick. At first, it was just a cough. Then, it was more. The doctors said it was serious. We spent months in and out of hospitals, hoping for good news, praying for a miracle. Emily and Ben came home as often as they could, but I could see the worry in their eyes. We were all scared. Through it all, I tried to stay strong. I cooked Tom's favorite meals, sat with him during treatments, and held his hand when the pain was too much. I told him stories, reminded him of the good times, and promised him that we would get through this together. But deep down, I knew that we were running out of time. The night before the funeral, the house was full of flowers and sympathy cards. Friends and neighbors had stopped by all day, bringing casseroles and kind words. Emily and Ben were both home, sleeping in their old rooms. I wandered through the house, touching the things Tom had built, remembering the life we had shared. When I found that envelope under his pillow, I felt like I was holding a piece of his heart. I didn't know what was inside, but I knew it was important. I sat down on the edge of the bed, the envelope trembling in my hands, and took a deep breath. I was about to open it, but I stopped. I wanted to hold on to that moment for just a little longer. I wanted to remember Tom as he was the man I loved, the father of my children, the partner who had stood by me through everything. I didn't know what the letter would say. I didn't know if it would bring comfort or more pain, but I knew I had to read it. I owed it to Tom, and to myself. I sat on the edge of the bed for a long time, just holding that envelope. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I kept thinking about all the years Tom and I had spent together, all the things we'd shared, all the secrets we'd kept from the world, but never from each other. Or so I thought. The house was quiet. Emily and Ben were asleep. I could hear the old clock ticking in the hallway, the soft hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen. I looked around our bedroom, at the photos on the wall, the books on Tom's nightstand, the slippers he always left by the bed. Everything felt so normal, and yet nothing would ever be the same. I finally opened the envelope. Inside was a letter, written in Tom's careful handwriting. There was also a small photograph, folded in half, and a key taped to the back of the letter. My heart pounded as I unfolded the paper and began to read. "Dear Anna," it began. "If you're reading this, it means I'm gone. I'm sorry I couldn't say these things to you in person. I hope you can forgive me for that. There are things I need to tell you, things I should have told you a long time ago." I stopped reading for a moment, my breath catching in my throat. I looked at the photograph. It was old, faded, and showed Tom as a young man, standing next to a woman I didn't recognize. She was smiling, her arm around his waist. I turned the photo over. On the back, in Tom's handwriting, was a date from before we met, and a name, Margaret. I felt a strange chill run through me. I went back to the letter. "I met Margaret before I met you. We were young, and I thought I loved her. But life took us in different directions. I never told you about her, because I didn't think it mattered. But there's something else I need to tell you. Margaret and I had a child together, a daughter. Her name is Lily." I stared at the words, not sure I was reading them right. Tom had a daughter, before me. He never said a word. I felt a wave of confusion, then anger, then something like grief all over again. The letter went on. "I didn't know about Lily until years later. Margaret moved away, and we lost touch. When I found out, Lily was already grown. I met her once, just once. She didn't want anything from me. She just wanted to know who her father was. I never told you, because I was ashamed. I didn't want to hurt you, Anna. I didn't want to hurt our family." I put the letter down and covered my face with my hands. I felt like the ground had opened up beneath me. All those years, all those quiet evenings, all those times I'd asked Tom if there was anything he wanted to talk about, and he'd just smiled and said, "No, love, everything's fine." I picked up the letter again. There's a key taped to this letter. It's for a safety deposit box at the bank. Inside, you'll find some papers and a letter for Lily. I want you to give it to her, if you can. I know this is a lot to ask. I know I should have told you sooner, but I hope you can forgive me. I love you, Anna. I always have. I sat there for a long time, the letter in my lap, the photograph in my hand. I didn't know what to think. I felt betrayed, but I also felt sorry for Tom. He must have carried this secret for so many years, afraid of what it would do to our family. I thought about waking Emily and Ben, about telling them everything right then and there, but I couldn't. Not yet. I needed time to process, to understand, to decide what to do next. The next morning, the house was full of people. Friends and family came to pay their respects, to bring food, to share stories about Tom. I moved through the day in a daze, smiling and nodding, thanking everyone for their kindness. But inside, I was falling apart. Emily noticed right away. She pulled me aside in the kitchen, her eyes full of concern. "Mom, are you okay? You seem different." I wanted to tell her everything, but the words wouldn't come. I just hugged her and said, "I'm tired, sweetheart. It's been a long week." Ben was quieter than usual. He spent most of the day outside, helping the men set up chairs in the backyard for the gathering after the funeral. I watched him from the window, wondering how he would react if he knew the truth about his father. That night, after everyone had gone home, I sat at the kitchen table with the letter and the photograph. I thought about Margaret, about Lily, about the life Tom had before me. I wondered what kind of woman Margaret was, what kind of life Lily had lived. I wondered if they knew about me, about Emily and Ben, about the family Tom had built after he left them behind. I didn't sleep much that night. I kept thinking about the safety deposit box, about the letter Tom had written for Lily. I wondered what it said, what secrets it held, what kind of closure it might bring. The day of the funeral was bright and clear. The church was full of people, all there to say goodbye to Tom. I sat in the front row with Emily and Ben, holding their hands, trying to be strong for them. I listened to the minister talk about Tom's kindness, his generosity, his love for his family. I wanted to believe every word, but part of me felt like I didn't know him at all. After the service, people gathered at our house. There was food, laughter, and tears. Old friends told stories about Tom, about the time he fixed their car for free, or helped them build a fence, or lent them money when they needed it most. I listened, smiling, but inside I was thinking about the letter, about Margaret and Lily, about the secret Tom had kept for so long. That evening, after everyone had left, I sat with Emily and Ben in the living room. The house was quiet again, the only sound, the ticking of the old clock in the hallway. Emily spoke first. "Mom, are you sure you're okay? You've been so quiet." I looked at my children, at the faces I loved more than anything in the world. I knew I couldn't keep the secret forever. I took a deep breath and said, "There's something I need to tell you. Something about your father." They listened as I told them about the letter, about Margaret, about Lily. I showed them the photograph, the key, the words Tom had written. Emily started to cry. Ben just sat there, staring at the floor. "Why didn't he tell us?" Emily asked, her voice trembling. "I don't know," I said. "Maybe he was afraid. Maybe he thought he was protecting us. Maybe he just didn't know how." Ben was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "What are you going to do, Mom?" I looked at the key, at the letter, at the photograph. "I think I need to find Lily. I think I need to give her the letter. It's what your father wanted." Emily nodded, wiping her eyes. "Do you want us to come with you?" I smiled, feeling a wave of love for my children. "I think I need to do this on my own, but thank you." That night, I lay in bed, thinking about the journey ahead. I didn't know what I would find. I didn't know if Lily would want to meet me, or if Margaret was even still alive, but I knew I had to try. For Tom, for Lily, for myself. The next morning, I went to the bank. My hands shook as I handed the key to the teller, as I signed the papers, as I opened the safety deposit box. Inside was another envelope, addressed to Lily, and a stack of old photographs. There was also a small box, wrapped in a faded ribbon. I took everything home and sat at the kitchen table, staring at the letter Tom had written to his daughter. I wondered what he had said, what kind of father he had tried to be, what kind of forgiveness he was asking for. I spent the next few days trying to find Lily. I searched online, called old friends, even reached out to Margaret's family. It wasn't easy, but eventually, I found a phone number. I dialed it, my heart pounding, my hands shaking. A woman answered. "Hello, is this Lily?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "Yes, this is Lily. Who is this?" I took a deep breath. "My name is Anna. I was married to Tom. I think he was your father." There was a long silence on the other end of the line. Then Lily said, "I know who you are. I've thought about calling you so many times, but I never knew what to say." I felt tears streaming down my face. "I have something for you. A letter from Tom, and some photographs. He wanted you to have them." Lily was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "I'd like to meet you." We agreed to meet at a small cafe in town. I spent the next day preparing, going over everything I wanted to say, everything I wanted to ask. I was nervous, but also hopeful. Maybe this was the beginning of something new. When I walked into the cafe, I saw Lily right away. She looked so much like Tom Samey's, same smile. We sat together, awkward at first, but then the conversation began to flow. I gave her the letter, the photographs, the box. She opened the letter and read it, tears in her eyes. He always said he was sorry, Lily said. He always wished things had been different. We talked for hours, sharing stories, filling in the gaps of our lives. I told her about Emily and Ben, about the life Tom and I had built. She told me about Margaret, about her own family, about the years she spent wondering about her father. When we said goodbye, I felt a sense of peace. I knew there would still be hard days, still be questions without answers. But I also knew that I had done the right thing. I had honored Tom's wishes, and I had found a new connection, a new piece of my family. After meeting Lily, I felt a strange mix of relief and sadness. I had done what Tom asked. I had given Lily the letter, the photographs, the small box with the faded ribbon. I had listened to her stories, shared my own, and tried to answer her questions as honestly as I could. But when I got home, the house felt emptier than ever. Emily and Ben were waiting for me in the kitchen. They wanted to know how it went. I told them the truth, that Lily was kind, that she looked so much like their father, that she had always wondered about him. Emily cried. Ben just nodded, his face serious. For the next few days, I moved through life in a daze. The funeral was over. The visitors had stopped coming. The casseroles in the fridge were almost gone. I tried to go back to my routines, making coffee in the morning, watering the plants, folding laundry, but everything felt different. I kept thinking about Tom, about the secrets he had kept, about the life he had before me. But one afternoon, I sat in the living room, looking at the old family photo albums. I found pictures of Tom as a young man, pictures I had seen 100 times before. But now, I wondered what he was thinking in those photos. Was he missing Margaret? Was he thinking about Lily? Was he already carrying the weight of his secret? I started to question everything. Had I really known Tom? Had our marriage been built on trust or on silence? I thought about all the times I had asked him if he was okay, if there was anything he wanted to talk about. He always said no. He always smiled and changed the subject. I wondered if he had wanted to tell me, if he had tried and just couldn't find the words. The more I thought about it, the angrier I became. I felt betrayed, not just by Tom, but by the life we had built together. I felt like a fool for not seeing the signs, for believing that love was enough to keep secrets at bay. One night, I couldn't sleep. I got up and walked through the house, touching the things Tom had left behind. His jacket on the hook by the door, his tools in the garage, the book he had been reading, still open to the last page he finished. I sat down at the kitchen table and started to write. I wrote a letter to Tom, pouring out everything I was feeling: my anger, my sadness, my confusion, my love. Why didn't you tell me? I wrote. Why did you carry this alone? Didn't you trust me? Didn't you think I could handle the truth? I wrote for hours, filling page after page. When I was done, I felt lighter, as if I had finally let go of something I had been holding on to for too long. The next morning, I called Margaret. I had found her number in the papers Tom left behind. I didn't know what I was going to say, but I knew I needed to talk to her. She answered on the second ring. Her voice was soft, tired. Hello, Margaret, this is Anna, Tom's wife. There was a long pause. Then she said, I wondered if you would call. We talked for a long time. She told me about her life, about how she and Tom had met, about the years they spent together before he left. She told me about Lily, about the day she told Tom he was a father, about the letter he wrote to Lily when she was grown. I never wanted to hurt you, Margaret said. I never wanted to come between you and Tom. I just wanted Lily to know her father. I listened, my heart aching. I realized that Margaret was just as lost as I was, just as hurt, just as confused. We were both trying to make sense of a man we had loved, a man who had tried to do the right thing but had made mistakes along the way. After we hung up, I sat in the kitchen for a long time, thinking about everything Margaret had said. I realized that I wasn't alone in my pain. I wasn't the only one who had been hurt by Tom's choices. We were all trying to find our way through the darkness, all trying to forgive, all trying to move forward. That afternoon, Emily came into the kitchen. She sat down across from me, her eyes red from crying. Mom, do you think Dad loved us? She asked. I reached across the table and took her hand. I know he did, sweetheart. He made mistakes. We all do. Ben joined us, sitting on my other side. For the first time in days, we really talked about Tom, about the secrets he had kept, about the family we had lost and the family we still had. We laughed about the silly things Tom used to do, how he would sing off-key in the shower, how he would sneak cookies from the jar when he thought no one was looking, how he would fall asleep in his chair with the TV blaring. We cried about the things we would never get to say, the things we would never get to do. That night, I felt a shift inside me. I realized that I could be angry at Tom and still love him. I could feel betrayed and still miss him. I could grieve for the life I thought we had and still be grateful for the life we shared. I started to forgive Tom, not all at once, but little by little. I forgave him for the secrets, for the pain, for the choices he made. I forgave myself, too, for not seeing, for not asking, for not knowing. I realized that forgiveness wasn't about forgetting. It was about letting go of the anger, about making space for healing, about choosing to move forward. In the weeks that followed, I reached out to Lily again. We met for coffee, just the two of us. We talked about Tom, about our families, about the things we wished had been different. I invited her to dinner, to meet Emily and Ben. It was awkward at first, but slowly, we began to find common ground. We shared stories, laughed at old memories, cried over the things we had lost. I saw so much of Tom in Lilia's smile, his sense of humor, his stubbornness. I realized that she was a part of him, a part of our family, whether we liked it or not. One evening, after dinner, Lily pulled me aside. "Thank you," she said, "for reaching out, for giving me a chance to know you, to know Emily and Ben. I always wondered what it would be like to have a family." I hugged her, feeling a sense of peace I hadn't felt in a long time. "You do have a family," I said. "We're not perfect, but we're here." As the days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months, I found myself healing. The pain was still there, but it was softer, less sharp. I started to look forward to the future, to the new relationships I was building, to the new memories I was making. I realized that life is full of surprises, some good, some bad. We can't control what happens to us, but we can choose how we respond. We can choose to hold on to anger, or we can choose to let it go. We can choose to close ourselves off, or we can choose to open our hearts to new possibilities. I chose to forgive. I chose to move forward. I chose to love, even when it hurt. As the months passed, the sharp edges of grief and betrayal began to soften. Life didn't go back to the way it was before, but it found a new rhythm. I learned to live with the empty space Tom left behind, and I learned to fill it with new memories, new connections, and a deeper understanding of myself and my family. Emily and Ben returned to their own lives, but they called often. Emily would check in every evening, just to hear my voice. Ben would stop by on weekends, sometimes bringing groceries, sometimes just to sit with me in the garden. Our conversations grew more honest. We talked about Tom, about the secrets he kept, about the ways we all try to protect the people we love, then when it means hiding the truth. I found myself thinking about Margaret and Lily often. I wondered how Margaret was coping, if she felt the same mix of relief and sadness that I did. I wondered if Lily was finding her place in the world, if she felt like she belonged. I reached out to them both, inviting them to family gatherings, birthdays, and holidays. At first, it was awkward. There were moments of silence, moments when the pain was too fresh to ignore. But slowly, we began to build something new. One Sunday afternoon, we all gathered in my backyard for a barbecue. The sun was shining, the air was filled with the smell of grilled food and the sound of laughter. Emily and Ben played cards with Lily at the picnic table. Margaret and I sat on the porch, sipping iced tea and watching the children find their way to each other. Margaret turned to me and said, "I never thought we'd be here, Anna. I never thought we'd find peace." I smiled, feeling a warmth in my chest. Neither did I, but I'm glad we did. We talked about Tom, about the choices he made, about the ways he tried to do right by everyone, even when he made mistakes. We talked about forgiveness, about letting go of anger, about the importance of family. I'm proud of the woman I've become, I told Margaret. I'm proud that I found the strength to forgive, to move forward, to open my heart to new possibilities. She nodded, her eyes shining with tears. You should be proud. You've given all of us a second chance. As the sun set, we gathered around the table for dinner. Emily raised her glass and said, to family old and new, to forgiveness, to love. We clinked our glasses together, and for the first time in a long time, I felt truly at peace. In the weeks that followed, I continued to reach out to Lily. We went for walks in the park, shared stories over coffee, and slowly, she became a part of my life. Emily and Ben welcomed her. They invited her to their homes, introduced her to their friends, and made her feel like she belonged. I watched as my family grew, not just in numbers, but in love and understanding. We learned to accept each other's flaws, to forgive each other's mistakes, to support each other through the hard times. We learned that family isn't just about blood, it's about the people who stand by you, who love you, who help you become the best version of yourself. I also found new strength in myself. I started volunteering at the local community center, helping other women who were going through difficult times. I shared my story, listened to theirs, and offered what comfort I could. I found purpose in helping others, in using my pain to bring hope to someone else. One evening, after a support group meeting, a woman approached me. She was younger than me, her eyes tired and sad. She told me about her own loss, about the secrets her husband had kept, about the anger and confusion she felt. I don't know if I can forgive him, she said. I don't know if I can move on. I took her hand and said, you don't have to forgive him today. You don't have to move on all at once. Take your time. Feel your feelings. But don't close your heart. Don't let the pain define you. You're stronger than you think. She smiled, tears in her eyes. Thank you. I needed to hear that. I realized then how far I had come. I realized that healing isn't about forgetting the past, it's about learning from it, growing from it, and using it to build a better future. Looking back, I wouldn't change a thing. Every tear, every sleepless night, every difficult conversation led me to this place of peace and self-acceptance. I know now that I am not defined by the betrayals I endured, but by the strength I found to rise above them. I still miss Tom. There are days when the grief sneaks up on me, when I find myself reaching for his hand, or listening for his voice, but those moments are softer now, less painful. I remember the good times, the laughter, the love we shared. I remember the man he was, and I forgive him for the mistakes he made. I also forgive myself for not seeing, for not asking, for not knowing. I forgive myself for the anger, for the sadness, for the days when I wanted to give up. I forgive myself for being human. As I move forward, I carry the lessons of this chapter with me. I am not defined by what was taken from me, but by what I choose to reclaim. And in that, I have found a peace I never thought possible. I hope that if you're listening to my story, you find comfort in knowing that you're not alone. I hope you find the strength to forgive, to move forward, to open your heart to new possibilities. I hope you remember that you are stronger than you think, and that you deserve love, happiness, and peace. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for letting me share my journey with you. I hope it brings you hope, comfort, and the reminder that even in the darkest moments, there is always a way forward. As I sit here tonight, the house is quiet again. The sun has set, and the world outside is soft and still. I can hear the gentle ticking of the old clock in the hallway, the same one that's been with us since Tom and I first moved in. It's funny how some things never change, even when everything else does. I look around the living room and see the signs of a life well lived. There are photographs on the mantel, Tom holding Emily as a baby, Ben grinning with a missing tooth, all of us together at the beach one summer. There are cards from friends, little gifts from the children, and a vase of fresh flowers that Lily brought over just yesterday. Each thing is a reminder of love, of family, of the journey we've all taken together. Sometimes, I still feel the ache of loss. I still miss Tom's laugh, the way he would squeeze my hand when he thought no one was looking, the quiet comfort of his presence beside me at the end of a long day. But I also feel gratitude for the years we had, for the lessons I've learned, for the new connections I've made. I think about forgiveness a lot these days, not just forgiving Tom, but forgiving myself, forgiving Margaret, even forgiving the world for being so unpredictable and hard sometimes. Forgiveness isn't about forgetting. It's about letting go of the weight that keeps you from moving forward. It's about choosing peace, even when you have every reason to hold on to pain. If you're listening to this and you're carrying your own burdens, I hope you know that you're not alone. I hope you know that it's okay to feel lost, to feel angry, to feel sad. But I also hope you know that healing is possible, that you can find your way back to yourself, even after the hardest storms. I've learned that life is full of surprises. Some are beautiful, some are painful, but all of them shape us into who we are meant to be. I've learned that family isn't just about blood, it's about love, about showing up for each other, about choosing to forgive and to try again. I've learned that I am stronger than I ever thought I could be, and so are you. So tonight, as I turn off the lights and get ready for bed, I whisper a quiet thank you to Tom, to my children, to Lily and Margaret, to everyone who has been a part of my story. I thank myself, too, for not giving up, for finding hope, for choosing to love again. Tomorrow is a new day. There will be more challenges, more joys, more moments to cherish. I don't know what the future holds, but I know that I am ready to face it with an open heart, with forgiveness, and with hope. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing this journey with me. I wish you peace, love, and the courage to write your own story, no matter where it leads. Good night.